Hello, thanks for staying with us here on Live from Paris on France 24. It's time now for our look at what's going on the internet with James Creedon here, our media correspondent.
Yes. Good evening, Kat.
Good evening to you. Now, first up, we've been talking about the Fête de la Musique, which is meant to be an all-night music party here in France, but the weather's not really got the memo, has it?
Bit of a washout, and actually the headlines are very much reflecting that on the French websites. Let's take a look online. Fête de la Musique, les annulations pleuvent. The cancellations are raining in, right? So lots of talk about that. Apparently in Strasbourg, Mulhouse, Lille, they've actually just cancelled it because of the rain. And so a lot of the websites are picking up on that when their headlines. Annulation cascade, a waterfall of cancellations, says that website. And la fête de la musique tombe à l'eau, so it falls into the water. So they're really going for the water metaphors.
They love the puns, don't they?
They do. On Twitter as well, you have Singing in the Rain, Purple Rain, Rain and Tears, It's Raining Men, etc., 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 which has been retweeted 12 times.
It's not a bad collection of songs.
It's not a bad collection of songs. I'm not sure if it's a very good tweet, but it was retweeted 12 times, so somebody thought so. And others actually thinking that there's a little bit too much enthusiasm for this national event across France, which is about some 30 years old now. And you had some cynics, I'm not sure if I noted those tweets, saying that it's almost like Valentine's Day, that it's taken on too much of a sort of dimension, and
it's too big.
It's almost become too big.
It is pretty noisy, I have to say. I live on a street that gets quite noisy.
That's right. I think for a lot of people, if they're working the next day, it's a little bit too much partying. But
absolutely. Well, at least I don't have an early rise to do.
That's it.
Well, more rainouts across the channel in a country that's very used to rain, of course.
This is it. The Brits weren't as surprised as the French, maybe. And they're going for funny headlines too. Soggy solstice, drenched druids. We have the lot, because of course it is this sort of a pagan festival as well for many people. So they all gather at the pagan sites, the old pagan sites such as Stonehenge, where there was driving rain, but it didn't dampen spirits. Some 14,000 people turned out for that event. But what I thought it was quite amusing, actually, despite the funny headlines such as drenched druids, that in fact Stonehenge was probably built way back when for the winter solstice, for the 21st of December, which is also the case for an ancient monument in Ireland, which is aligned with the winter solstice. Sun comes into it, so it does make sense. They would have been built around the same time, aligned for what would have been a Neolithic Christmas. So what are they all doing there on the 21st of June? They're getting a bit ahead of themselves, but they're
previewing the winter solstice there, maybe previewing the winter weather.
I think you're right.
So grey. How did they even see the sun come up?
Unbelievable. Well, they did manage to have a bit of fun anyway, apparently. But quite oddly, over in New York City, the sun was splitting the stones, and this Times Square in any case, and you had something insane. I don't know how many. I think was it 14,000 people squashed into 500,000. They say there.
Gosh.
Oh no, that's incorrect. Sorry, that's not possible. They just pass through Manhattan every day. But some 14,000 did stop for a yoga session on Times Square to mark the Midsummer Day as well, to do, I suppose, the downward dog or the salute to the morning sun.
Salute the longest to the sun sounds appropriate,
right. Yeah. And it went on all day, and quite annoyed some New Yorkers here, saying that it was a bit soggy, it was a bit gallons of sweat. They said if you get weirded out by people in flip-flops around town being a bit smelly, then this was a bit too much for the taste of some New Yorkers, apparently.
Just showing off, aren't they? Showing off how bendy they are.
This is it. How healthy and bendy.
All right, so you got someone else who's a bit angry for us after those angry New Yorkers.
That's right. Well, new Nicolas Sarkozy is not pleased. Now, we were talking yesterday, Kat, about this book, A Feu et à Sang. It was by a former minister. She was giving all sorts of dirty details about things he had said about Angela Merkel, etc., etc. And another book is coming out about him now that he's left office, Le Monarque. Now, you can see there a little silhouette of Nicolas Sarkozy's head, right? Now, the funny thing about this book is they call it a livre à clé in French, or a sort of a key book, because it's written as a novel, but all of the key characters are clearly recognizable as who they are meant to be. So Le Monarque is Nicolas Sarkozy, and they're really, like, with the little silhouette of his head, they're really not making an effort to disguise who it's about. There's also other political characters from his fief, what they call his fief, his sort of turf to the west of Paris, in the western Paris suburbs.
Fiefdom.
That's right, his fiefdom, where he tried to plonk in his fils, if you remember. So it's all about how he tried to parachute his son into a top administration job in La Défense. And actually, there's even a very shocking sentence in the book, which has been pulled pulled out about an incident, apparently a sexual encounter that happened. It's sort of Bill Clinton-esque and in French politics. Famously, these sort of incidents are kept very silent. Not in this case. Apparently, there was some sort of an incident that happened, and he had a speech to give, and he needed to relax, and he put a lot of pressure on this lady, and that is a key incident in the book, which is getting a lot of attention. It's even getting its own infographics. So
aren't they sailing a little bit close to the wind, legally speaking? I think my media law lecturer might have something to say about this.
They might well, but the thing is, this is the
and he
eve,
is a barrister.
That's right. But it's the eve of his losing his presidential immunity, and so he's perhaps going to have a lot more in his hands now to deal with, because he is facing a lot of court cases in the coming weeks and months for suspected corruption incidents. So maybe he'll just be drowned with that kind of, will be taken up with that.
They're just thinking they'll get their mudslinging in while they can. It's interesting stuff.
There you go.
What else have you got for us then? Some more angry people.
Well, I did want to finish with this because I just thought it was funny. Plus-size friendly gyms ban skinny people. That is the headline on Time newsfeed. This is in Vancouver.
You walk through a door, and if you're too thin...
Apparently, they just want it to be for the people who really need to lose weight, and they don't want them to be faced with people who are extremely skinny. I suppose it does make a certain amount of sense. This is in Vancouver, actually, and it originally appeared in the Canadian press, and, it was for... I suppose overweight ladies and others, and the idea was that you wouldn't have to see all these skinny people. But I was wondering, do they get is their membership taken off them if they do lose all that weight and get really trim?
Do they have a BMI sort of cut-off point? And also, skinny people can be unhealthy.
This is it.
You can be naturally skinny and not very
gyms
healthy,
are
right?
sort of about getting to a relatively kind of, good body, I suppose, balance, etc.
Yeah.
But that is true. And as they point out in the article in Province, some people are just naturally not stick thin, and what happens to them? Are they not allowed in, even though they're perfectly healthy and gym bodied up? I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if that one ended up in a lawsuit. We've seen similar things in the past, haven't we?
It could happen. I want my membership to the Big People's Gym, please.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to eat a few more pies for that, James Creedon.
Might have to.
Thanks very much for that media roundup. James
thanks.
Creedon, our media correspondent there. Okay, well, we've got a little bit more media action for you with web news coming up right now.